On January 9th, 2017, Dan Primack dropped this BFD in his first Axios newsletter. Since then, we've covered a lot of deals, over 10,000. M&A deals, VC deals, private equity deals, growth capital, IPOs, and more. If you work in deal making, you know it can be a lot to keep track of. That's why now we're launching Deals Tracker, a new feature exclusively for Axios Pro. Deals Tracker uses AI to read and consolidate our coverage, giving you the information you need about the deals that matter to you. Here's how it works. Every deal we've reported on has been added to a new searchable archive, and every deal we cover in the future will be added too. The Deals Tracker gives you quick access to deal history for companies and investors across a variety of industries. You can easily narrow your research, focusing on the things that you care about. The tool lets you easily see different deal types to understand who's raising money, who's buying or selling, who's merging, or big personnel moves. The search results are concise and easy to read, giving you the most important information in seconds. But if you need to dig deeper, you'll be able to download deal data or explore our in-depth reporting, giving you context to why deals happened. When you combine the utility of the Deals Tracker with the analysis and expertise from our industry-leading journalists, Axios Pro now offers the most helpful toolkit available to the modern dealmaker. All Axios Pro Deal subscribers get instant access to Deals Tracker. Subscribe today at axiospro.com.
Make yourself comfortable. Visionarios will begin in a moment. Encuentren un lugar cómodo. Visionarios ya va a comenzar. comfortable. Visionarios will begin in a moment. Encuentren un lugar cómodo. Visionarios ya va a comenzar. Comfortable. Visionarios will begin in a moment. Encuentren un lugar cómodo. Visionarios ya va a comenzar.
Welcome aboard.
Presentamos a los autores de Axios Latino. Rosso Contreras, reportero senior de temas raciales y de justicia en Axios. Y Marina E. Franco, reportera digital de Noticias Telemundo.
Thank you. Appreciate you. Thank you for coming and for making yourself here available. Bienvenidos, buenas noches. And because we're in LA, Pues órale! Everyone, thank you for coming to our second annual Visionarios event here at Axios Latino. We really appreciate you coming here to the wonderful city of Los Angeles. This, by the way, has the largest number of people of Mexican descent in the world outside of Mexico City.
Yeah, thank you, Russ. Bienvenidos. It's great to have everyone here. We're very excited about hosting our Visionarios event in Los Angeles, which is, of course, a massive Latino hub in the United States, both for culture, arts, entertainment, businesses, and the culinary scene, some of which you'll be able to taste here today. So please partake after the event. And we are especially excited because we're on the eve of Hispanic Heritage Month in the United States. Yeah. So I'm just going to take the opportunity and say, Feliz Día de Independencia anticipado a los mexicanos, a los guatemaltecos, los hondureños. Yeah. Salvadoreños, costarricenses, nicaragüenses, y chilenos. Yeah, exactly. And if you're following us on the live stream, not for people here, but please make sure to use the hashtag Visionarios 2023.
And please sign up for the Axios newsletter, which you can get at axios.com/signup/newsletters. But before we get started the show tonight, I want to thank the Axios Latinos editorial team, our partners with Noticias Telemundo for their magic in making another newsy, fun event possible. And also a big thank you to our sponsor, Bank of America, for the continued support for Visionarios. And Sierra on the Vine, thank you for this wonderful event. And also I want to remind you, we do have upstairs also gather some drinks and food up there. Please make yourself at home. We also have space in the back. We want you to enjoy it. We hope you're able to enjoy some bites and beverages provided. Don't worry, after we get done, there'll be some more available. Don't worry, we'll get you.
And on that note, please make sure to try our signature cocktail for the Visionarios event. It is the Sunburst, and it, of course, has tequila. So let's go.
I also want to thank Marina here. She's a colleague of ours based in Mexico City. She's really helped carry this Axios Latino newsletter. She's an amazing journalist, but she's got one flaw. Mira, corner flour.
Oof, absolutely maíz.
Sis.
No other way.
Everybody, Marina.
Yeah. Everyone enjoy Visionarios.
Thank you. I'm really excited to introduce our first guest. This is a pleasure as we come here at the City Angels. Our first guest to bring to the stage, you've known her for decades in Congress, and she recently made history here in Los Angeles to become the next mayor of the City of Angels. Please, everybody, give a warm Latino, Axios Latino welcome to the Honorable Mayor, Karen Bass. Karen, thank you for coming. I really appreciate it. I want you to know these are constituents, but you're among familia. So thank you so much for coming here.
Thank you. Thank you for the invitation.
I want to start off. Recently, a lot of Republican governors, your Republican friends, have been sending migrants to cities across the country, especially in LA, an act that you called despicable,
yes.
And you said people that were doing it were evil. But I want to ask you, the Biden administration is considering a program where they're going to keep migrants in Texas. Should the federal government and the Biden administration do more on this front to help cities like yours?
Well, absolutely. I mean, New York is really the city. I mean, 100,000 people going to New York, sent to New York from Florida and Texas. So for here, you know, it has fortunately been manageable. And the reason is because we have an incredible network here. We have organizations like Chirla. In my office, we have Claudia Alagon, who I believe is here, the Director of Immigrant Affairs in the office. So, you know, I mean, we live in a city that welcomes immigrants. And so I think we have been able to handle it. But I am fearful that any day planes could start coming. And what I thought was particularly despicable was coming from Texas when we were threatened with a hurricane. We don't know anything about hurricanes. We don't know much about rain. And the idea that he would send a bus knowing what we were potentially facing here. That's why I called it evil. And if they were sincere, if he was sincere, why don't they call us and coordinate it? That's not what they're doing.
Do you feel this was an attempt to embarrass cities like Los Angeles?
I mean, I think it's very clear. I mean, what they're trying to do is destabilize cities because it's Chicago, it's Washington, D.C., it's New York. It's the narrative that these are Democratic-run cities and that we don't know how to govern and that everything is chaotic here. This is just setting the stage for the presidential election next year.
The writer's strike and also the actor's strike has been here. You've been very vocal to say this is hurting LA economically. What's your role in helping in the strike?
Well, one thing that I didn't know about the job is that, I'm supposed to be responsible for all sorts of things. It's like, wait a minute, we got 21 city unions we're in negotiation with right now and don't exactly have any authority over the Screen Actors Guild. But my role, I mean, obviously, the entertainment industry is one of our foundations of our economy. And it is impacting us a lot because there's thousands of ancillary businesses that are impacted by this. But it's my job to be in communication with everyone. It's also my job to hold those communications in confidence. And some people was like, well, what's really going on? One thing I don't do is I don't grandstand. And so because of that, though, I am talking to everyone, and my job will be when the time comes to facilitate if that should be desired.
What's your reaction to Bill Maher? He's the first late night talk show host that said he's going to do a show anyway without the writer's strike, amid the writer's strike. Point blank, he never invites Latinos on the show, but we got to ask, what is your reaction to him doing his show amid the strike?
Well, I mean, I don't think that that's particularly helpful. We need to get the strike settled. You have people now who are facing eviction. You have, and we all learned about the entertainment industry. I mean, I didn't know that the average SAG member made less than $20,000. I didn't know that. But I think that him doing that doesn't really move the needle forward. And we need all sides to come together and get this settled.
I've been talking to a lot of constituents out there, and they're concerned also with the unhoused and the homeless. You have a lot of programs that you're doing, Inside Safe. You talk to the federal government, HUD, and said, we'd like you to relax some of your document requirements, and you got a hotel. Is there anything the federal government or the states, any barriers you think that they could relax to really get in the issue of the unhoused here?
Well, yeah, there are, but the problem is that I think we've kind of pushed it as far as we could go, because what's needed now would require a change of law, and ain't much legislation happening in Congress right now. Congress is trying to see if it's going to actually shut down. So I want to continue talking to the Biden administration. I think they've done amazing. They've been amazingly supportive. And of course, I want more money.
You want more money?
Yeah.
There was a bill that just passed the Senate, and I want to get your reaction. The governor's, kind of iffy on it, but it would give unemployment benefits to strikers. What's your take on that law?
I think that that's a valid thing to do. The notion that if people receive unemployment, that's going to encourage them to be on strike. Nobody can live on unemployment, not as expensive as the city is. So I know that there has been some pushback that, if people received unemployment, they wouldn't be incentivized to go back to work.
There are a lot of food trucks here in LA, and that's one of the things we like about LA. Someone said there was going to be a taco truck at every corner. I was cool with that.
Is there one outside?
Yeah, exactly. But what's your administration doing? There's been some high-profile attacks on food vendors, right? And there's been some concern about regulators coming. What is your administration doing to protect those taco trucks?
So you know what? Actually, I've been talking to our council member, Soto Martinez, about this, because what I'm hoping to do, we're talking about, I'd like to go to a meeting of the vendors, because they are organized. They do have an organization, because I want to see if the city can help them become cashless, with the handheld machines, because if they don't have cash, there's no incentive there. So that's what I'm trying to work on with him.
Interesting is when you ran for mayor, the police union went against you. You turned around.
$4 million.
Yeah. You turned around and it said, I want to negotiate a raise for you. Right? What was the incentive of that? Is saying, I want to beef up the ranks of LAPD, and I also want to give you a raise. The rising crime. In LA is no different from that.
Yeah, but first of all, the campaign's over. I won.
No lies. No lies told here, right?
I just don't believe in that. I mean, my number one job is to keep Angelenos safe. And I don't think, it is helpful to our city to be losing officers by the thousands. And so to me, that was the most important thing. And, we were in competition because other cities, recruit our officers. And we did a hiring bonus. And by the way, the recruitment is up too. Just to show you the competition, we did a hiring bonus of $15,000. Alameda County has a hiring bonus of $75,000. So we can sit back and allow, our force to be depleted, or we can do something about it. So to me, it was a no-brainer.
Right now, crime is a big issue nationally. I talked to the mayor of Washington. She said this was. So on that front, we're 3 years outside of the murder of George Floyd. Is police reform dead because we're focusing on crime?
Oh, no, I don't think police reform is dead. I mean, two fundamental things is law enforcement, like any other profession, needs to be transparent and accountable. And to me, it's just fundamental.
I want to ask you about House Speaker Kevin McCarthy. He is...
Oh, my friend?
Your friend, that's what I was going to say. A lot of people don't know you're friends. As they say in parts of LA, you're homies. Okay? You are. I've seen photos. What is your reaction there as he's in the House and he's starting an impeachment inquiry against the president with not a lot of evidence? What's your reaction? You were in Congress. You know how it works.
Oh, yeah.
You sat through some inquiries.
And even though I'm not there anymore, I do compulsively follow it. So he's trying to get 5 votes. He doesn't want the government to shut down. This is my take. I've not talked to him, but, I do know him and we are friends. But he doesn't want the government to shut down. That does not help his situation at all. But he needs 5 votes. And he's got these knuckleheads that are going to hold him to task every step of the way. So he needs them to vote because, we are in danger of the government shutting down in the next 2.5 weeks. So that's what it's about. But the problem is that he might get his 5 votes over there, but will he alienate the ones that are not as crazy as the ones who want the president to be impeached? It's payback. It's retribution.
My good friend, LA's Times columnist Gustavo Arellano wrote a beautiful piece about your family on the eve of the election. Just talked about your family, and it showed that you are our family. Tell me, how has your family influenced you and created you?
How my family has influenced
you and affected you as a person?
Well, you're referring to the fact that my family are Latino.
And so are you.
I mean, I grew up, well, first of all, my mother was born and raised here a long time ago when black folks weren't even here. And so I was raised in a household where, she spoke some Spanish, and so it was a part of how I grew up. The other thing is that when I was a teenager and getting involved in politics, we viewed our language, we didn't say multiculturalism, we said third world unity. So I always grew up identifying with other struggles. And what we used to do in the city, and we still do that, I mean, I was in South LA, but my friends in East LA, we would coordinate events together, which is why a number of us, kind of grew up together, like Antonio Villaraigosa, Maria Elena Durazo, Gil Cedillo. I mean, we've known each other for decades. We met each other right after our teens. And so that was how I was raised. I met my husband when I was actually preparing to go to Cuba. And he's passed away. He was Chicano. He was the head of La Raza Unida Party, for those of you old enough to know La Raza Unida Party. He was El Partido. He was the head of La Raza Unida in the San Fernando Valley. And our daughter called herself a Blaxican. So she was very proud. Unfortunately, I lost her as well. But, I have stepkids, and we raised our kids together after we split up. We raised our kids together. So my stepkids, who are now in their 30s, have been a part of my life since the day they were born. And now I'm a grandma.
And our final moments that we have together, I wanted to ask you, when I was born, I'm from Houston. Go Astros. Fair and square. But I did want to ask you, when I was born, Barbara Jordan was my congresswoman. the first black woman from the South in Congress. And even 50 years ago, I still remember her. You made history becoming the first black woman to lead the city. And somewhere today, there is a young child who was born Latino who will later say, I was born when you were mayor.
Wow.
What do you hope your legacy is when that person gets my age and they look back and say, my mayor was Karen Bass?
Well, I hope that she will grow up and sit in the seat. That's what I hope.
And one last question. I don't want to be presumptuous, but you've only been not even a year yet. You ever thought about any other office, like, I don't know, governor?
Done.
No?
I'm done.
You're done.
I'm done.
So if somebody says, hey, will you be my vice presidential candidate, you're saying no?
I went down that road a couple of years ago.
And you're not ready to revisit it?
No, you know, I mean, I know it's hard to believe because of how people view politicians, and I want to call out too, I know that I saw George Gascon here. Where is it? There he is. And our city attorney, talk about a first, Heidi Felstein Soto. But, you know, we have a rap that all we do is just bounce from office to office to office and just think about our next campaign. I was happy in Congress. I really wasn't thinking about leaving, but I was really worried about the direction that the city was going. And I didn't want to see, I mean, we talk about the unhoused, you know, that's a black and brown issue. You're talking about 74% of the folks in those tents are black or brown. And so to me, to come home to deal with this issue was so compelling to me. And I'm not looking at what I'm doing next. I'm truly not, which means that I'm going to leave it all on the field. Is that what they say? Leave it all on the field, leave it all on the table? Yeah, I came to deal with this problem, and I'm dead serious about it.
Everybody, the mayor of Los Angeles, Karen Bass. Thank you so much, Karen. Appreciate it. Thank you so much. Make sure you get that.
En momentos, la sección View from the Top, moderada por Fabricio Drummond.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome, bienvenidos a Axios Visionarios. The Axios events team and myself are thrilled and honored to have everyone here tonight. A big thank you to Bank of America for making events like this happen and for being an incredible partner. An incredible partner to Axios since day one. We truly appreciate the partnership. I will kick off our View from the Top segment. He is the president of business banking and the president for the the greater Los Angeles area for Bank of America. Please welcome Raul Anaya. Raul, thank you for joining us.
Of course, happy Hispanic Heritage Month.
Well, let's kick off with the big picture. Talk to us about the importance and the impact of the Hispanic and Latino community to the U.S. economy.
Yeah, look, we at Bank of America, we've been serving in the Hispanic Latino community for decades. And so what I'm going to share with you is not something new to us at the bank. When you think about the power of the Latino community nationally, the strength of it. In fact, there was a recent report that came out earlier this week saying that if it were its own country, the U.S. Latino GDP would be $3.2 trillion, the fifth largest economy in the world. It's growing very rapidly, very entrepreneurial, as we know as Latinos, higher educational attainment, higher wealth accumulation. So it's just the growth dynamics are amazing. And so as a bank, it's an opportunity for us to spend more time and helping this important segment of the U.S. economy.
Well, let's unpack a little deeper then. What are the trends that you're watching that are exciting you, and what are the trends that you're watching that are keeping you anxious?
So when you think about, I mean, at the bank, we're always looking at, okay, what are the global trends, what are the national trends, and how can we serve the communities that we serve? And when you're 20% of the U.S. population, the Latino community is obviously very, very important to our growth as a company, and quite frankly, should be an important growth driver for any company that provides consumer products, financial services, consumer goods. And so we see it as a very significant growth opportunity for us for many, many reasons. One, as I mentioned, the median age of Latinos is 29, very entrepreneurial, so they're starting companies at a much faster rate than than the general population. It's growing so quickly that most of the population growth that we're seeing as a country is because of the Latino community. In fact, over the next 20 years, when you think about the growth in home ownership, they say that 75% of all future homes that are built on a growing basis is because of the Latino community. So as a bank, one that is very much about investing in the community, it's important that we serve this important demographic. So today, we might be 20% of the US population, but by 2030, by 2050, we're supposed to be 30%. And so how can you ignore the facts? How can you ignore this growth projectile? And so that's why I've said over the last couple of decades at Bank of America, we've been very focused on serving this important community. And we're proud to be able to say that we serve over about 13.4 million Latino customers, 1.2 million of whom are small business owners. And that's growth. That's serving the Latino community. That's helping grow our national economy.
Oh, that's incredible. Bank of America supports the Hispanic and Latino community through a myriad of initiatives and support initiatives at the community level, consumers, businesses. Can you walk us through the big ways in which the bank impacts this community?
So at the bank, we like to look at it three ways. We look at it, how can we serve our clients? How can we serve the community that we serve? And how can we serve our employees? And so when I think about the Latino community, especially our clients, there's a few ways that we serve them. One, we have established over 20 Latino business councils across the country. It started in LA in 2009, and it's basically a group of Latino bankers focused on serving the needs of the Latino community. And it's everything from small business to large corporations to individuals to families. So that idea is now in over 20 different cities across the US. And it's where you would expect: New York, Chicago, Houston, Dallas, San Diego, just to give you an example. So that's one way we serve our Latino clients. The other way that we're very, very proud of, and it started a few years ago, is how do we help close the wealth gap that exists within the Latino community, or quite frankly, in all underserved communities. And so we announced a few years ago a $300 million commitment to invest in minority-owned venture capital firms. Earlier this year, we actually increased it to $500 million. And so today, we've invested as a limited partner in about 150 venture capital firms that are owned by Latinos, Black African Americans, women, Asian. And I'm proud to say that we have two of them here with Tracy and Carmen that we've invested in their fund, because you know what they're doing? They in turn, where's Carmen and Tracy? There they are right there. Both of these amazing ladies are investing in other women, Latino, Black African American technology companies. And so they're going to invest in the next generation, hopefully, of Apple, IBM's, all these growing technology companies. And so as they become successful, they're investing in other businesses that are startups. And so all of a sudden, that it has a ripple effect across all of these different communities. Latino community, we've invested in about 25% of those funds are in Latino-owned venture capital firms. So that's another way that we're helping our clients. On the community side, look, our goal is to always be part of the fabric of our community. And so nationally, we're investing in national organizations like the U.S. Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, Unidos US, the Congressional Hispanic Caucus Institute, Latino Corporate Directors Association, all of these national organizations that are there to help empower the Latino community nationally. And then lastly, around our employees, right? We've got about 215,000 employees at Bank of America globally, and about 20%, the US population of Latino, is Latino. So we've got almost 40,000 employees. And so what do? We have a very vibrant employee network group that we call HOLA, and they're there to help bring connections, help with career development, professional development. And then there's a group of us, there's about over 300 senior Latino leaders that gather to see how can we help our Latino teammates at Bank of America grow, develop, and ultimately achieve their career goals. And we serve as a sounding board to Brian Moynihan, our CEO, as well as the rest of the management team.
Excellent. Well, now let's bring this conversation to the local level. You're the market president for Los Angeles. What are the things that you're doing to support this community in LA?
Well, isn't LA an amazing city, amazing market? Like, it's 50% Latino. And so we do a lot of things to help the community. We try to focus it around health, small business, and arts and culture. Those are all things that are very, very important to us as a community. So on the health side, it was very evident during COVID, during the pandemic, that there's disparities, not just in the Latino community, but quite frankly, in all diverse communities. And so we've been investing, significant dollars in nonprofit organizations that do outreach and empower our community, and ideally close the gap of the health disparities. And so I'm talking about Ultimate Health Services or White Memorial Hospital, again, because they do such great work with community outreach and helping close that gap. So that's something that we do around health. On the small business side, we know Latinos are very entrepreneurial. They start businesses at a much faster rate than other segments. And so we are supporting the various chambers, whether it's the LA Chamber. Maria Salinas is here, the first Latina CEO. We help support the Latino Chamber of Commerce and a bunch of other business advocacy groups to help connect technical expertise, capital, to our small business Latino owners. So that's what we do on the small business side. And then finally, arts and culture. Who doesn't like art, right? So we support them. We support various organizations like the Museum of Latin American Art, MOLA, La Plaza de Cultura y Artes, all those amazing organizations that do amazing work around showcasing the contributions of the Latinos in not just LA, but all of Southern California. And then nationally, I'm proud to serve and represent all of our Latino teammates at Bank of America by serving on the board of the Smithsonian's National Museum of the American Latino in DC. So we finally have our own museum to be able to celebrate and showcase the uniqueness that the Latino community has, because you can be from Mexico, Colombia, Brazil, other countries, and we're all very different. And so we now have a museum in Washington, D.C. that we as a community will be able to celebrate and tell our stories, because we each have our own stories of success.
Excellent. Well, we're coming up on time here, but at Axios, we like to close on a happy note. We call it the one fun thing. What is your favorite locally Hispanic Latino-owned business in LA?
There are so many, but how can you not say Porto's Bakery? Yeah. Right? My good friend Raul Porto and Betty Porto, the family, Ropa Vieja, it's amazing. It's an amazing cuisine.
There you go. So we have now a place to check out. Raul, thank you so much. Awesome. Ladies and gentlemen, Raul Anaya.
Presentamos a mí, Astrid Galván, editora de Axios Latino.
Hello, welcome. So our next segment features an athlete who is dominating the world of sports and tackling gender norms, both on and off the field. You probably remember her from her hilarious Super Bowl ad. It was amazing. If you haven't looked at it, look it up. This year, please welcome the captain and quarterback of the Mexico women's flag football team and NFL ambassador, Diana Flores. So that ad was amazing. You had Billie Jean King in it.
Yes.
It went viral. What has life been like since?
Wow, well, first, the Super Bowl commercial was an amazing experience. Not only to be there shooting with all of these amazing people, getting to know my super heroes like Billie Jean King, Erin Andrews, amazing women in the sports industry, and that have paved the way for many women in sports, but also to have the opportunity to show and remind the world in such a big platform how the power of sports can keep supporting and empowering women around the world. To remind the world how the power of sports can break down any kind of barriers, gender barriers, cultural barriers, and send a message of unity. That was, to me, the most powerful thing. And right now, after the Super Bowl commercial, to see the impact it had, not only in the sports industry, not only on giving visibility to the sport of flag football and women in sports, but also the impact that it has on many, many young women and people around the world that felt identified, probably by first time ever, at a platform like this, in a commercial like this, for many, many people who by first time probably heard the language being spoken at an important stage as a Super Bowl. It was an amazing moment, and I feel that was just the beginning of cultural change. It was just the beginning of getting more allies during this journey, not only to keep growing the sport of flag, but also to keep empowering women and to the Latino community.
Yeah. And in addition to the ad, the NFL released a video of you revealing the ad to your family. And I'm a real chillona, so I was crying my eyes out. As a mom, I could relate to that feeling that your parents expressed. And your dad said, he said, eres poderosa, you're powerful. What does that mean to you, and how do you harness that and your growing visibility as it relates to women in sports?
Wow, eres poderosa. That has been a very powerful statement to me since I was little, coming from my dad and my mom. I'm really grateful with them because not only they have supported me since I was little, practicing a sport that was meant to be for men, practicing a sport where I fell in love with, but never felt like I was belonging to until now. So eres poderosa has been like a statement that has like become part of myself and that I've learned to embrace. And that's what, it's part of my mission, I could say, today, to spread kind of that statement and to remind all the women and remind all the future generations of girls that we are powerful, that we are capable to do anything we want, that now we can dream bigger than ever because we have bigger platforms, because we have more allies in this journey, because we are not alone. We're somehow like a fraternity. We are somehow like a team building more opportunities for the future generations. So that to me has become like my life mission that I could say goes further than me being an athlete on the field. Like right now, having the platform I have or being the voice for many, many, not only women, but also men from the Latino community is very important to me because I've realized how important is representation, how important is to have role models, how important is to have people from our community in different stages, because you can only be it until you see it. So I feel that being part of that evolution process has been one of the best gifts to me right now.
Yeah. And interesting that you say the word evolution because it seems like, you know, women in sports are having moments, right? The women's world soccer team is amazing, but at the same time, you know, there's a lot of discrimination, and we saw the debacle with the Spanish winning soccer team and how long it took for that to kind of have consequences. Can you talk about where you see women in sports going, like, you know, women-specific sports, where it's going in the future?
As you said, I think that women in sports, we are living in a very special moment in time. Thanks to, I mean, many women before have fought for us to be where we are today, but especially right now, I feel that finally we're having like that focus, or we're starting, I may say, like to have that focus and those platforms, that the voice we deserve. When it comes to many different sports, as you said, as soccer, we saw like it was amazing to see the World Soccer Championship. They had like many records of viewers. Recently, the US Open just happened. 50 years passed for equal pay for women in sports. So that's another like big step forward for us. They are just paving the way for the next sports. So I feel that not only because women in sports are evolving, but also because women in sports are doing something very special and different, which is spotlighting not only how much we have to keep working to achieve that equality, especially for women in sports, but also talking about other, I would say, problems or topics in society that we still need to keep working on. And I mean, that's what happened with the Spanish team with soccer. And I'm very happy and proud that athletes are starting to speak up, because that's all about that. I mean, it's more than just being athletes. It's more than just winning gold medals. It's more than being world champion. It's about building a better future on and off the field. And all these athletes, that's what they are doing and what we're doing all together. And I feel that from now on, future is just bright for the future generations.
Yeah. And speaking of the future, I know that you're a big advocate for making flag football an official sport in the Olympics in 2028 here in the city.
Here in LA. Which
yes.
It's going to be amazing.
Talk to us about that. How did that come about? What does this advocacy entail? Like, tell us everything.
So I've been lucky enough to be able to give back to the sport I love, not only as an athlete representing my country, Mexico, at the biggest stages in the world, bringing medals to home, but also as global ambassador of the game for the NFL and IFAB, working to achieve this Olympic dream, which we are closer than ever. Cross your fingers, because probably later on in October we're gonna receive good news from the IOC. That's just gonna be a big step forward for the sport, and not only for flag football, but also for women, to have more opportunities to play first the sport we love, to be professional like soon at this sport, and be able to live from this sport and be just like professional athletes. And third, to have more opportunities to achieve our goals, not only as athletes on the field, but also as professionals, having more opportunities and more support to achieve our goals. And I think that's the most important thing about the sports, because it allows people to evolve and achieve their best versions of themselves, not only as athletes, but also being role models, also like paving the way for our future generations of girls that need this like shining stars to follow, and to know that anything is possible and dreams come true when you work hard and you work alongside amazing people, and when you are aware that no matter who you are, no matter where you're from, you're powerful, that our power and that greatness lives and starts in our minds, lives in unity, lives in our culture. And I think it's the time to start embracing that and to start to change all those narratives, not just for us, but for our future generations of girls and boys.
Yeah. You were a coach at the Pro Bowl very recently. What was that experience like? That's different than flag football.
Yeah, well, it was the first time that Pro Bowl was a flag football game, actually. So before it used to be like a tackle game with non-contact, which was very weird. But by first time this year, the NFL decided to turn it into a flag football game. So it was an amazing experience for us to have the recognition and the support from the NFL. For them asking me to be the offensive coordinator for the AFC as a woman. It was the first time that they had an offensive coordinator being women, being Mexican. So first, I feel that was just like a very big step forward. It just broke like a lot of barriers, I could say, like cultural barriers, gender barriers, because it was like me, a 25-year-old woman, between all these amazing like players, and I feel that was just another demonstration to the world. Again, like no matter where you're from, it just matter like the dedication you put into what you love. And I mean, we did an amazing job, and it was an amazing showcase of how big and amazing is flag football. And I can just be excited for what future holds.
And I have just one last question for you. What's in your future? When you look down 5-10 years down the line, where do you see yourself?
That's a hard question. Because, you know, I never dream on anything that is happening to me right now. As an 8-year-old Mexican girl, I never imagined all of this could be possible to me one day. In a sport that was meant to be for men, being Latina, and not having a role model to follow, not feeling represented at my sport. So what I found amazing is that anytime you just are passionate about what you do and you put all your effort and you truly believe, like life can surprise you and be even bigger than your wildest dreams. So right now I just really want to keep, of course, growing as an athlete, representing my country, bringing medals home, but also keep opening like new paths and new doors for the future girls, for just, I don't know, making this journey a little bit easier for them, reminding them that they can dream big and that dreams come true, and whatever takes me to that journey, I'll be more than happy to follow.
Well, I'll make sure my little girl Lucia looks at that and follows in your footsteps. So it's such a pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Pásale por acá y a la izquierda.
Demos la bienvenida a Julio Vaqueiro, conductor y presentador de Noticias Telemundo.
Hola, buenas noches. Hello everybody. Thank you very much for being here. I'm thrilled to be here. This is my first Visionarios event, and it's been very exciting. So listen, this is the last segment. It's the last conversation that we're going to have tonight. And I'm sure you're going to enjoy this last guest. I know you all want to go for more tacos and tequila, but just stick with us. It's going to be interesting. We all know that Hollywood loves drama, right? And there has been no shortage of that in the last couple of months with the labor strike. And we are going to talk about that with our next guest. We will also be talking about representation, the importance of diversity and seeing Latino stories on the big screen. So I am honored to welcome our next guest. She's a writer, a producer, an actress, and much more. She's the iconic Gloria Calderón Kellett. So please welcome her. Bienvenida, Gloria. ¿Cómo estás?
Bien,
Bienvenida. Thank you. All right, so we flew in from Miami for this event. And we see a lot of Cubans in Miami.
Uh-huh.
But you're a Cuban American who grew
Not
up.
from Miami.
Not from Miami, from Portland, Oregon.
Portland, Oregon.
So how did that shape you?
Oh my gosh, how did that shape me? Well, the diaspora is very spread out. We don't, one of the things, oh gosh, we have so much to talk about. I'm going to try to talk fast. Thankfully, I'm Cuban, so I can. Okay. We don't talk about Latino history in this country enough. And so my parents were both from Pedro Pan kids. Anybody? Pedro Pan? Yep. So between 1960 and 1962, about 14,000 unaccompanied minors from Cuba came to Miami, were given refuge while the government was supposed to get Castro out. They did not. So shortly thereafter, there were freedom flights that allowed the Cuban parents to join their children. And Miami was orange groves and farmland before then. Now Miami is Miami because of this enormous influx. Mm-hmm. At the time, there were not apartment buildings and houses and schools to support these 14,000 Cuban children and their parents. So different churches took them in all around the country. That's why the Cuban diaspora is so spread out. So my parents landed in Portland, Oregon, with about 30, 40 other Cuban families. And I grew up in this beautiful little Cuban community. And then there were all the gringos. And it was beautiful. It was beautiful that I got code switching had to happen because aquí estamos con los cubanos. And then we'd be out with the white people that were very nice. So it was a really interesting journey, but I felt like I had the support of this community. And all of them were there for each other in a really beautiful way, helping each other build and grow. The Paco would have the business. We'd all go to Paco's business. We were there. Everybody was supporting one another. And so it was really beautiful. And then when I moved to California and they were like, oh, you're Cuban. What part of Miami are you from? And I'm like, I'm from Portland. They're like, there are Latinos in Portland? And I'm like, Latinos are everywhere. We are everywhere.
You're right.
So it's nice to be able to say, no, we're everywhere. So let's hear those stories too.
So now you're an actress, a producer, a creator. Is that the career that you thought you were going to have?
Yes.
Always.
Well, I knew
Wow.
I knew I wanted to be a storyteller. I
You
wanted to be a storyteller. What I saw on screen did not reflect anything about me, my family, or my life. I remember thinking like, oh, but if I'm not blonde and thin, I don't fall in love. Get that? What? I was like, where are we? And I was like, oh, you know what? They must not. No, we're here. I'm going to go to LA. I'm going to say, we're here. Let's put me on screen because there's people who look like me. And then when I got here, all of the auditions were for, I'm not kidding you, gangbanger's girlfriend or gangbanger's sister. So I'd have to lay in the sun because I can get a beautiful caramel, but I'm mostly writing, so I'm a vampire. But so I would go in and then be like, Chuy, put the gun down, orale. And they're like, no, you need more of an accent. Like, you need more of it, like, you have to understand, like, this girl, like, her parents came from another country. And I'm like, yeah, my parents came from another country. And this is what I sound like. And then it was like, oh, ay, pobrecito, they don't know. Nobody back there looks like us. They don't know. I got to be back there. And I got to tell the story, and then they'll know. And so then my focus became on how do I get back there.
So you became a champion for representation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I infiltrate. I mean, there were different paths, and my path was I got to infiltrate. I got to get into these spaces and figure out what these people know. And I would get into these rooms with these people that went to Harvard and all these fancy places. I'm like, oh, they're not better than me. They're not smarter than me. They just have access. They just had someone who knew someone else. Oh, well, if I'm here and I do that, then I can help build it. And that's what I'll do. And then that's what I've been doing.
So you've created spaces for Latinos in Hollywood, which is huge, right?
Yeah.
How do you do that, and how challenging is that?
It's not challenging because I love the community. I think we have so much to celebrate, and it makes me actually so. People come to my house and they don't want to leave. They want to adopt my parents. They want to eat our food. I'm like, it's such a celebration for me because people come and don't want to go. So for me, the multi-camera sitcom was such a perfect space because it's a couch. it's come into my house. You want to know what my family's like? You want to know how we talk to each other? You want to know the humor? You want to come on in. And the couch is the perfect segment, and that's what a multi-camera is. And then it was, I made one show that we're not allowed to talk about our shows, but you can Google it.
We have to talk about that.
I made one show that was very female focused because I did not see enough women that looked like me. I wanted, I promised my mother one day I will get Rita Moreno to play you, and then I did. Then I was like, I want to focus on fathers because my dad and my brother are two of the greatest men I know. How many Latino dads do you see on TV that are just great dads? Oh, George Lopez? Oh yeah, you guys, that's embarrassing. So I was like, I gotta put a good Latino dad on TV. So my next show was focused on putting a dad like my dad on TV. And that's what I did with my last show. So it's like, we have to just make room and make space and then have people, anybody that works for me, first day in my room, I say, listen, if you wanna do this job, I'll teach you how to do this job. You can be in on my notes calls, you can be in on my meetings, you can be in on my casting sessions, anything you want, you have all access pass. And one of the writers on the Netflix show, what can I say? One of the writers that worked for me ended up making another show that's now on a network, and it's the only Latino show on the network, and she worked for me. Like, we have to create these opportunities. My diversity program works because...
Yeah, good.
Because the talent is there. We are ripe with talent. The opportunities are not.
So on your view, where are we at in Hollywood? Are we doing little progress?
I think it's still dire. I think it's still terrible. I think it's still embarrassing. We are 20% of the population, and 5% of what's on TV, and that 5% is still largely stereotyped. It's still like a cop or a gangbanger or a drug dealer. Narcos novella narratives are still rampant. And those can exist if a lot of other stuff also exists. It's just it doesn't. So that when one thing comes along, everybody wants it to make up for 200 years of lack, and it can't.
Yeah.
We need many bites at the apple. We are 25 plus countries under the umbrella of Latinidad. We all deserve to see ourselves out there. So I want space for all of us to be out there.
Great. What do you think networks and streaming platforms can do differently to make sure that Latino stories go out there?
Understand that we have incredible buying power. I mean, guys, I've gone to these meetings and they tell me straight up, I'm like, you gotta tell me for real. I wanna solve this problem. We come out, opening weekend of a movie, Latinos make movies #1. We are 1 in 4 opening box office of a #1 movie in America. So you are missing out on it. No, well, you guys come to white stuff. You guys will come to our stuff, so why should we make stuff for you? That's because you haven't made enough stuff for us. You got to make stuff for us. We do want to see ourselves represented. And yes, are there going to be people that are upset because this isn't this enough or this isn't that enough? Sure. That's why I want to always express to the community, let good things be good. Say what you loved about something instead of tearing it down so that next time there will be 5, and then next time there will be 10, and eventually we can solve all of those problems. One cannot make up for everything. So I think they need to really care. I think they really need to understand our economic power. They need to understand that the millennials are mostly Latino in this country. Like, we are building, this country is becoming more and more Latino, and we need to start focusing our attention on this incredible community that I think if we band arms and stop talking about how I'm this and you're that, I'm not gonna watch that because it's this, and no. I watched so many shows that are not exactly my experience, but there was just seeing Arroz con Pollo on TV was delightful. Just seeing people speak Spanish was delightful. Just seeing an abuela, just seeing any of those things, seeing a cafetera, any of those things are meaningful. And so I want to let good things be good so that there can be more good things. And then eventually, great things.
So let's talk about the labor strike.
Yes.
There seems to be no end to that.
I know.
So what of the demands, if they are met, which one of them would really benefit Latinos in the industry?
I mean, I think all of them. Look, Latinos have been at the forefront of so many labor movements in this country, farm workers being the biggest ones, right?
Yeah.
Cesar Chavez, and we are in a town that is a labor town. When I was coming up as a writer on 22 episode order shows, I was able to buy my first home and start to save and start to build a life. You know, my mid-level writers, there's 6 episodes. And while it seems like a high payment, that's 6 episodes. That's 10 weeks of their year, 15 weeks of their year. It's not 52 weeks a year they make that amount. So they're not able to start lives and build savings and really have a life as an artist. And we know that the major corporations are making plenty of money, so it's not that. It just seems that there's a disparity between what is happening. I mean, there was a system in place that was profitable, and streaming did mess it up. Mm-hmm. It was very exciting at the time, but I think we need to look at it and say, all right, we need to recalibrate this so that we can continue to have artists thrive and have stories that are told. Because story impacts policy. I mean, we've seen it. I think I'm here. I've told this story before, but there's an activist, Fabiana Rodriguez, who I love to quote because she is an incredible artist and activist out of Oakland. And she does a study on what we see and really absorb as culture, which is TV, music, film, photography, poetry. It takes about 10 years for it to reverberate into culture and to have really lasting impact and change in DC. So if you look at anything that's happening in DC, 10 years earlier, what was happening? What was the zeitgeist events that were happening that made a path for that? And I think about, after hearing her speak, I thought about my parents' journey here as Cuban children, refugees to this country in 1962. The #1 show in 1952 was I Love Lucy. So there's a Cuban in your homes, and he's delightful and fun. And so their path here was paved by Ricky Ricardo being on TV.
Yeah.
So now, when you're looking at the treatment at the border, what people are saying about immigration, what they're saying, the negative narratives that we hear constantly about Latinos, you look at the last 10 years, and it's narco-novella, gangbanger, drug dealer. Oh, of course, that's what people are going to think. So for me, having positive representations from the community is vital to make up for that lack and to humanize the Latino experience.
Absolutely, absolutely. Are you optimistic that there will be a resolution soon?
I am optimistic. I have to be optimistic because I have so many things I want to make and so many people I want to work with and so many stories I want to tell. And, I just got an email that they're talking again, so that's exciting. I don't know how long that's something. So I'm very hopeful that it will end soon.
Good. Now, just before we go, what are the stories that you're really looking for to tell?
Oh my gosh, so many. I also just want to be in different genres, I want us to exist in horror. I want us to exist in space. I want us to exist in all of the genres because there's just still such a lack. There's such a lack, and I think we really deserve to be in every single space. I want us to be billionaires too. I want us to be in those narratives as well, and certainly in the US Latino market, we're not yet. We're not there yet.
I love a line you say often. There's a starvation for representation. Yeah. But what you do really changes the whole.
I'm really trying, you guys. Yeah. I will tell you, I'm really trying.
Thank you very much, Gloria. It's been a pleasure to talk with you. And thank you, guys. Thanks for joining. So this wraps everything. Just make sure you stick around, get another tequila, and just mingle around. Enjoy the evening. Thank you very much. Thank you. Gracias, Gloria.
Gracias.
Nice talking with you.
Un placer.